The UN Security Council is backing the Secretary General's call to repatriate peacekeepers who sexually abuse or exploit the people they are sent to protect. The Council adopted a U.S. draft resolution on the issue Friday.
The resolution underscores that peacekeepers found guilty, not those accused, those found guilty of committing SEA, do not deserve to serve in UN peacekeeping missions, sending a clear message to troop and police contributing countries who fail to take action to prevent or punish credible allegations of sexual abuse and exploitation, as well as to all member states and to UN bodies to ensure that these investigations are carried out thoroughly, promptly, and impartially.
In 2015, there were 69 allegations of sexual abuse or exploitation made against UN peacekeepers. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon warned that the allegations tarnish the credibility of peacekeeping operations and the United Nations as a whole. Now, to an issue we reported last week, a UN report revealed South Sudan's government operated a scorched earth policy of deliberate rape, pillage and killing of civilians during the civil war in 2015. For more on the report, VOA United Nations correspondent Margaret Besheer joins us live from New York. Margaret, first, what a report that was. I mean, have you read ever any report like that?
I have to tell you, Vincent, it was one of the most grim reports that I have read in 8 years at the United Nations. There were 1,300 reported rapes, many of them gang rapes, in a 5-month period just in Unity State. And, you know, that's reported. So there are many more that went unreported. And the things that went on in this report, people suffocated in shipping containers, cut up, hung from trees, shot, raped in front of their husbands or their children, daughters raped in front of their parents. I mean, it was just absolutely heartbreaking crimes that were committed in this period of 5 months in Unity State. And I think it's relevant that Unity State is the home state of Riek Machar, and the rapes that were committed, the report says, were committed by government troops.
So now, what is being recommended in order to hold people account for these heinous crimes?
Well, the African Union, in their Commission of Inquiry report last year, called for a hybrid tribunal to be set up for South Sudan, and the UN is saying that that really needs to be accelerated and it needs to be done. And if it doesn't happen, Ivan Simonovic, who's the Assistant Secretary General for Human Rights here in New York, he said on Friday that they should keep as a backup plan the possibility of the Security Council referring South Sudan to the International Criminal Court. But I think everyone sees a preferred method being a hybrid court for South Sudan.
And to be very clear, these crimes have been committed by both sides of the conflict, right?
Well, they have been committed by both sides in the conflict, but this report in particular focuses on government troops, and it says SPLA soldiers were often allowed to rape women in lieu of wages. Since they weren't getting paid, they were told they could rape women. So it really does focus on the government. But in the past, both sides have been accused of crimes, no doubt. But these are possibly new war crimes and crimes against humanity that are being committed in South Sudan.
Being referred to The Hague, a little tricky here, knowing that there's going to be a government of national unity that brings both sides together, right?
Well, it is difficult, and there's been all this talk of a government, but it hasn't happened yet. And so the UN has really, of course, been pressuring both sides all along to implement the peace agreement that they've been waiting since August for them to implement, and that hasn't happened. And one of the things that have been talked about is the possibility of an arms embargo against South Sudan. That's been discussed in the Security Council on several occasions. It hasn't really gone anywhere. I asked Mr. Simonovic on Friday if he thought it was time for an arms embargo against South Sudan, and he said that it could help, but that he saw it really as more a symbolic move than a practical one, because weapons are getting into the country from through so many different channels. So it would be practically a hard thing to stem. But I think some council members feel even if it is only a symbolic measure, the council needs to send the message.
Margaret, thank you very much. Well, VOA United Nations correspondent Margaret Besheer reporting live from the UN.